I'm not an actor, so I'm not used to projecting like Mac, for example, but we'll try to make sure that we speak up at this end. So with that, just ask for a motion to approve the agenda then, please. Councillor Valeria, thank you. Councillor Sanjenko, all in favor? And that's carried. We're going to move straight to delegations, and our first delegation, in fact, are our hosts, the Heritage Playhouse. So you're going to talk to us about the nest.
Just tell me if you can't hear me. Welcome. I'm Ness Lewis. I'm the president of the board of the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society, and I'm joined here today by my fellow board members, Vice President Matt Dodge, Treasurer Kathy Kenner, and Recording Secretary Karen Careless, Secretary Diane Evans, and our volunteer coordinator Clarice Frost. And also here today is our tech expert, way up there, Debbie Carroll. We're very happy to welcome you to the Heritage Playhouse and to have a chance to tell you about the transformation of this historical building from Women's Institute Hall to School District Maintenance Shop to today's vibrant community gem. In 1988, which seems like 1,000 years ago, only kind of yesterday, Fred Ingalls, who was then president of the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society board, burst into my kitchen one afternoon exclaiming, "They're going to demolish the Women's Institute Hall. It's a perfect building for a theatre. Let's do it." And little did I know I'd still be here, but there we are. And the project began for the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society. Fred went to work, and not long after, William Moore, who was the Economic Development Officer for the SCRD, wrote to Mayor Diane Strom asking that the School District Maintenance Shop building be designated a heritage building and then returned to community use as Fred had proposed. So imagine, if you will, on stage left, which is that way, because you're an actor and everything's out to the audience, was the welding shop. Stage right was a grease pit big enough to service a truck. You're sitting right there. So we had our work cut out for us. We had scores of volunteers pitching in, helping with the tough construction, destruction, everything you can name, and through grants we were able to hire several workers as the project moved along. The Heritage Trust provided a grant to enable us to make foundations and install a sprinkler system, and other volunteers like the Gibsons Rotary Club were enthusiastic fundraisers, and in fact our cause was supported on the very first online Rotary auction. And now, to give you an idea about the long community history associated with the WI Hall, we'll bring you a 2-minute video that encapsulates its last 86 years. 86 years, my goodness. After which we'll bring you a picture of what Heritage Playhouse is today and how we propose that the town help us consider the future for this wonderful community treasure. So I wondered if you'd like to move and come onto audience seats. And Billy, once they're seated, would you please start the video and slideshow? Thank you.
If you listen close, it's easy to imagine the music and laughter from days gone by echoing through the halls of the Heritage Playhouse. For almost a century, the hall has provided the perfect venue for a variety of events, from weekly dances to rousing theater performances. But it wasn't always this way. The year was 1929, and the talk around town was that Gibsons Landing needed a new community hall. Around the same time, the ladies of the Housebound Women's Institute were searching for a place to hold their monthly meetings, and so a grand idea was born. The Women's Institute would build a new community hall that could also be used to host their meetings. Combining their meager savings with borrowed startup money, the Women's Institute purchased the site directly across from St. Bartholomew's Church and hired carpenter Fred Fisher to oversee construction. Fisher was paid $6 a day, while the rest of the labor was volunteered. And during that winter's construction, hot lunches were provided every day by the ladies of the Institute. By autumn 1929, construction had advanced to the point where a dance could be held on the newly laid floor. And dance they did. As the Great Depression hit, community dances at the Women's Institute Hall were a great way to shuffle the blues away, and for a time, it would only cost you 25 cents admission. Throughout the 1930s, the hall was booked for dances every Wednesday and Saturday night in the summertime. In the winter months, the hall hosted a variety of events, such as basketball games, town meetings, bazaars, and bake sales. In 1941, the Women's Institute handed over the hall to the school district, who continued its operation as a community resource for many years. Throughout the 1990s, renovations by the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society added Art Deco-style seats and a touch of class to the newly renamed Heritage Playhouse. Today, the Heritage Playhouse continues to host a variety of community events in an intimate and one-of-a-kind setting. From world-class concerts to avant-garde dance recitals, the Playhouse provides the perfect venue to enjoy the best of coastal culture. Steeped in history and alive with creative energy, the Heritage Playhouse is truly a community treasure.
Return to your seats. What's going to be behind you while I make my little spiel are just posters of what's happening. So you can't say, come on in. My name is Matt Dodge, and I'll bring you a quick picture of the past 15 years of arts and culture at the Heritage Playhouse. On Saturday, April 29th, 2000, the Heritage Playhouse had its grand opening. Since then, artists and audiences, both young and old, have met in the Heritage Playhouse to enjoy dance, film, music, theater, and the visual arts. Most Sunshine Coast dance schools have rehearsed their choreography and performed their shows to eager audiences. Parents and grandparents come to see their children engaged in expressing their dance creations. Musicians from the Sunshine Coast and from across Canada have entertained audiences with their melodies in the acoustically warm and vibrant Heritage Playhouse. Theater companies, have homegrown and national, have rehearsed and raised the curtains on productions. Theater schools, public schools, community and professional theater companies have entertained and challenged enthusiastic Sunshine Coast audiences. The film societies have regularly screened films from around the world that entertain, represent local issues, and global perspectives. The lobby and halls host numerous works of art and photography for audiences to enjoy. The Heritage Playhouse has become an integral part of the arts and cultural community on the Sunshine Coast. Every year, almost 2,000 volunteer hours are logged. This volunteer-based center hosts over 100 performance events each year, featuring 2,000 performers, serving 10,000 patrons. Another 100 non-performance events, such as meetings, also take place. This performing arts facility is rented out 200 days per year, representing 1,400 rental hours. Artists, both novice and mature, develop and rehearse their art to present to our community to consider and enjoy. New audiences, introduced to theater, perhaps for the first time, represent the future for the Playhouse, while mature audiences continue to offer their ongoing support. Transformed, this gem of a facility, with its welcoming lobby, sound system, lighting grid, dance floor, film screen, blacks, curtains, green room, and dressing room, it is now a crucible for culture and the arts on the Sunshine Coast. The connection between artists and community on the Heritage Playhouse stage weaves the cultural fabric that is the Sunshine Coast.
Nest, when I first moved here, I took pottery lessons from Gloria Piles in this building. My pottery career is
We could have an exhibition.
Sure, that'd be great, thanks, Bill.
I'm Kathy Keener, the treasurer for the board, and I have no bells and whistles, so just talking. As the newest member of the board this past year, I'm still learning all that the Playhouse represents, but I've quickly become aware of how committed the board and the manager are to maintaining this facility in the best possible state, while ensuring that it is accessible to all the members of the community: children, budding artists, performers from off the coast, and seniors. From a financial standpoint, this has been partly achieved by keeping usage charges as low as possible, applying for numerous grants each year, using volunteer help whenever possible, and relying on the generosity of business and private donors. Recent projects that we have just received grant money for include one from the Sunshine Coast Community Foundation to finish the repairs to the outside entrance. As well, the CRD has given us a grant to refinish the wood floors in the theater and the hall. And usage is what causes the wear, so that's a good thing. With these efforts, the Playhouse has been able to maintain and do minor repairs to the facility and upgrade some equipment as necessary in order to offer the best possible experience for both performers and event attendees. The Playhouse is meeting its obligations. Our year end is May 31st, and I do have a report from last year if anyone is interested. Our current year's books are with the accountant right now. The town receives a copy of this report annually, as we are one of your assets. However, there is no contingency fund for any major expense, which will occur with increased usage and as the building ages. For example, the roof replacement and the parking lot. There is just no excess income to set aside each year in such a fund. So we look to continue our good relationship with the town and hopefully partner with you in these major projects that will be necessary sooner rather than later. We're all very appreciative of all the support the town of Gibsons has provided to the Heritage Playhouse in the past, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, the last words. First, I'd like to convey our appreciation for the work done by the town on the nature landscaping project and work on the Gibsons Way entrance to the parking lot. And we also appreciate that our website is now linked with the town's. And now to what the future holds for the Heritage Playhouse. Our mandate from the start has been to keep rentals as low as possible, because we know from hard experience, and I'm speaking quite personally, that performing artists have very little money. And we believe that this accessibility is the reason the Playhouse has been successful in nurturing cultural activity on the Sunshine Coast. Despite our struggles, we have managed to create employment, albeit part-time, For the past 8 years, we've had a manager who has worked with great enthusiasm to run the Heritage Playhouse. We've been supported by local government and various foundations over the years to help us upgrade equipment in the Playhouse. Unfortunately, though, funding to cover our manager's salary is not included in such grants. And big ticket maintenance, such as roof replacement, is far outside the scope of our fundraising efforts. Those ongoing operating and maintenance costs are a burden that threaten the sustainability of this community-valued Heritage Playhouse. We need to find a way to enlist community support to ease the financial burden that could cause the Playhouse to close. Our board has thought long and hard about how to find a solution, and we looked to the museum for inspiration. The museum at one time struggled to survive. It was proposed that the museum is part of the social fabric of the community, and as such needs its support. After some review by local government, it was decided to include a museum function in the SCRD budget, similar to the one that already existed for libraries on the Sunshine Coast. There is no doubt that the Heritage Playhouse fills an important role as a focus of cultural activity on the Sunshine Coast. We propose that the town of Gibsons consider working with us in pursuing a similar solution, and ask that staff be authorized to strategize on how to develop a sustainable future for the Heritage Playhouse. We can ask any questions you may have, and would be happy to offer a tour of the entire building at a time convenient to you all, maybe this afternoon. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. And I wondered if, I don't know about your time thing, but Billy Carroll would like to say a few words either now or later.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Billy?
Yes. I've worked here as a technician for the last almost 10 years, and it's been, it's not a steady job, but a part-time, occasional job. And I just want to say two things. Firstly, that I've had so many great performers come into this building. An opera singer, a quartet from Montreal, who have been nothing but delighted with the acoustics here. This is a world-class concert performance space. And that kind of feedback, I don't know that it gets back to you or to other people in the community, but certainly anyone who comes in here is amazed at the way that this building has been constructed, and especially the acoustics. The second thing I want to say is that a lot of what happens on a day-to-day basis here comes from volunteer commitment, love of the building. Just let me give you an example. Like today, we wanted to do some PowerPoints that would go through the projector. And we've been trying to set that up for quite a while. I managed finally to get someone who would donate the equipment to do that, to set up to have an HDMI output down here so we could hook up any computer anytime. But we haven't had anyone to be able to come in and get up into the attic and do the cabling. And finally I was going to do it, but then I broke my leg and I can't get up there, and it's going to be another 2 weeks before I can do it. But it's this kind of like individual effort. I'm not alone in doing that, putting out that kind of effort to get small things done around here that can't be done otherwise. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is I'm a lighting designer and a lighting tech. And if you look up here at some of these instruments that are up here, these are 1970s. And one of the things that the building struggles with here is the cost of hydro. And if we had some way to replace these old instruments with a new LED system, we could cut the hydro use here for lighting by more than 2/3. So it's the kind of things of getting the capital gains to make the changes, to improve the roof, to get the air conditioning, all of that kind of stuff that creates our greatest challenge. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Come again.
Yeah, there's no question that this facility is a really fundamental, integral part of our community. I've been here for many, many performances, and without exception, they've all been first class, quite frankly. The last one I saw, I think, was the Alice in Wonderland one. It was just, blew me away. It's great. So, and I was here, I think, with the opera singer. That was Adrian's daughter, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite exceptional as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very valued part of our community. There's no question about it. How are you managing with recruitment of board members? I know you've been here for quite a while.
Yeah. I hadn't realized how long.
Diane's been around a while. I'm not sure how long you've been on this board, but.
Well, I'm returned.
You're returned.
Yes.
Okay, and yes, and yourself as well. So.
It's a small board,
Mhm.
but now that we have a manager, a lot of the stuff that the board used to have to do is done by the manager. So we are,
Yeah.
no, we don't really have that much trouble.
Okay. I know you'd come to us a while back. I think you were sort of looking to see whether we might appoint a council liaison with your board. Is that something that's still of interest to you?
I think it would be very helpful. Although we have no problems talking to
Staff?
certain staff members.
Yeah, okay. So you've got good communication with our staff?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of council?
I just have a couple questions for the board. I think, without knowing all the ins and outs, I think it would be interesting to have a discussion with staff about comparing the museum's role and how local government looks at the museum. It's a fine balance between accessibility and sustainability, isn't it? And I'm looking at your accountant on the board. I guess part of me wants to ask two things. One is, as a board, have you sat down to have a business strategy session lately with someone maybe from Community Futures or from the Chamber, and just kind of floated some ideas around sustainability? And I think bringing up the lighting is a really valid point, and I wonder if there's the opportunity to look to BC Hydro for, is there funding, is there sponsorship? It's a sweetheart project, and you'd be saving money that way. So I guess it's balancing between asking for help and also demonstrating that you're taking action to be more sustainable while balancing the needs to be accessible to the community. And there lies the problem for every single nonprofit society anywhere.
Well, we could certainly, all these things have crossed our board table.
Yeah.
And definitely we will be looking at things like that. Community Futures has been of great help to us in the past. I don't think they've got any angst against us, so we can certainly go to them again.
Yeah, and honestly, not for funding, just as someone to just do some business strategizing.
Absolutely.
And maybe help approaching BC Hydro or something.
Yeah, the whole topic of our infrastructure is an issue for, first of all municipalities. And we've got many assets in this town that we have to be alert to providing for eventual capital replacements. As you mentioned, the roof. Have you been given an estimate, by the way, on the roof?
No, I'm not.
Time, I meant. It's longevity of where you're at in its.
Well, the roof has been, it was the first thing that we did to this building.
Okay.
So it's been there far too long.
Yeah.
Also, everything that serves all the things that you see above you, everything runs through the roof. So it's the roof leaks.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Have you experienced leaks at this point that you've been having to deal with?
No, but we've been looking at the roof, and I have photos that I believe I've sent to council,
Okay, all right.
to staff of the roof.
Councillor Lumley?
I can't help but think, I know it's been brought up before, but I mean, I guess we should look at it in the future, and it's been mentioned, but maybe if the town, we could look at it in the budget process. We talked about an event coordinator, but not, maybe that's just too specific, but somebody from the town that can, you know, there's so many cultural and heritage, that might need some assistance in that direction, actually coming, you know, help from the town. So that's just kind of, from my perspective, it kind of like you guys need all this stuff that we worked out, everyone's volunteering, you know, people are breaking their legs, right? So, I guess break a leg, right?
She didn't break it here.
But, you know, I think we should look at that, like, we should look at, you know, because all these things are coming up that involve community, and, you know, they all involve, you know, somebody's time, and eventually somebody's gonna have to get paid to put in, you know, a full day with it, so, anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so thank you for kind of highlighting your situation here. It's, I mean, every week we deal with what we got to deal with to get through this week. But I'm a firm believer in looking forward, not waiting for the point where you come running down to the town and say, our roof is leaking, and you know, it's we got a major problem on our hands. We need to try to see if there's a way that we can provide in advance for this. So we'll get it on a committee agenda, I think, for further discussion from staff based on the information you've given them, and just see what opportunities might be available for us to make sure that this particular gem is preserved.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica, and thank you, board, for the work that you do. Okay, let's move on to the second delegation, which is Sunshine Coast Tourism.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Celia Robin, and I serve as the president of the board of Sunshine Coast Tourism. I think I got a promotion in your agenda package, but and I also want to introduce Linda Williams, who is one of our directors representing the arts, culture, and heritage sector on our board. The last time I was here was near the beginning of the year, talking about our goals for the year. And one of the questions that always comes up when I speak to government entities is, so how's the hotel tax coming along? And so at that time, we said that we were starting detailed conversations and consultations with the accommodation sector. We really launched that at the beginning of March. And I'm pleased to say that we have made significant progress, and we are right at the very close to the majority level. We're right at about the halfway point, and well, halfway in agreement. So just slightly over half is the majority. So we thought it was time then to engage with all of our local governments to make sure that you were both informed about the project and also doing whatever necessary to, one thing that the application requires is letters of support from each local entity of local government. And so we would hope to have that to submit along with the package, along with the majority support from the accommodation sector. The other 2 things that an application requires is a business plan and a budget. And the executive summary of the business plan was attached in your agenda, as well as a proposed budget. And so with that, I think most of you are aware of what the hotel tax is, and the piece gives some details, so I'm happy to answer questions and just kind of feel out, and then if that launches me into needing to explain more things, then we'll know kind of where we stand.
Okay, just before I go to Councilor Sanjanko, what's the bump up in the 50-50 grant between 2015 and 2016? It goes up by about 20,000. Why is that?
And I didn't print it off, so I don't have it in front of me.
All right,
But
so
if
I'm looking at this revenue here. from the 50/50, which is currently 55, but it's projected to go to
Okay.
75,000.
Yes,
Why is
so that is the provincial funding through Destination BC, and basically it operates on grants each year. And so we write a proposal as to what we would ask, and it's also a 50/50 grant, so it's what we are able to come to the table with. And so this year was the first year that Vancouver Coast and Mountains ceased to be. And so with Vancouver Coast and Mountains leaving as kind of our next body up that we worked directly with, that gave Destination BC more money to invest directly into the communities because they took out the regional tier. And so there was more money available this year, which is what allowed us to get to the $55,000 level mark. Basically, we took everything we thought we could put as matching dollars and asked the government to match at 55,000, and they did. And so that was basically every dollar we could scrape up that wasn't already used in a piece that would not fit their grant criteria. And so with what the hotel tax will allow is a greater basic budget, basic money available to marketing, and so it allows us to ask for more dollars from the province. The reason that we took it to 75,000 for the upcoming years is being a conservative estimate of knowing that yes, we would have more money available to go to them with matching dollars, but also being reasonable in the fact that there is an upper limit somewhere of what they're going to match with this. And so that's basically a conservative estimate. It could easily be more than that. Their program allows for applications up to $250,000 from an individual community.
Okay, so basically it's not a sum certain, but it depends on matching funds.
Yes.
Councilor St.
Can you just remind us, please, of your proposed or hopeful timeline?
So our goal is to submit the application by the end of July, assuming that we can be on all of the local government schedules by then. And then with the province, right, there's a level of bureaucracy though that you're not sure about. We would ask that it be implemented in January of 2016. However, you just giving them their average time, that could easily slip, say, till April of 2016. But we're talking about an early 2016 start to actually collecting the tax.
The application putting in for the end of July,
At the end of July.
is that already with the hotel owners signed up, or does that follow?
No, that's all ready. We've been doing that work for the
You got your
last
numbers?
few months. We've got the letters in hand. We
Okay.
are approaching the number to
Okay.
submit, which is why we're back on multiple meeting samples.
So just to clarify,
Yes.
being hopeful by this time next year,
Yes.
our accommodation sector could be collecting the hotel tax.
Yes.
And then getting back into the marketing budget, however
Yes.
that process flows.
Yes. By early 2016, yes.
Paul Rivers' contribution is still the sort of in-kind staff, is it?
That's what their local government's contribution has been, yes, is that they offer half of a full-time employee as our marketing director. And this application to implement the hotel tax is completely a regional application. We've been speaking with the accommodations in Powell River as well, and we're really drawing from the entire region to come up with a majority support from the accommodation sector.
I'm just trying to clarify the 50/50 if I could. So the Sunshine Coast Tourism 50% portion that comes out of any of this marketing budget, I mean, it's more than 55,000, but that's, you just have to show that you put in 55 for Destination BC, you put in 55, is that?
Yes.
Put it in
Yeah.
any expense type?
There are rules around their grant guidelines, right? It has to be for marketing expenses. It can't be for salaries. It can't be for media relations. It can't be for the party. It's very much about specific marketing and advertising and signage and branding and consumer shows, that type of direct marketing expenses.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Celia. Councilor?
this regard.
Seconded. Councillor Lariat, all in favor? That's carried. We'll get that to you pretty quick. Thank you, Celia. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for the work that Sunshine Coast Tourism does for us. It's one of the most effective regional organizations that we've got here, so even better than the regional district. Sorry, I forgot to bring your name. So, but, yeah. Okay, Bob Hoy, I don't see Lori Bright right here. Oh, there she is. It gets dark in here. Okay, Bob Moore. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's on my agenda, my name. So.
Bob's already stolen my opening line, which is I'm not Bob White. My name's Richard Hope, and I was the project lead for This is the Coast, a digital campaign telling stories of life on the Sunshine Coast. So an economic development program created by the community and funded in a pilot phase by some people in this room who again are sitting silently right behind me. Thanks for your support. Mayor Rowe, councillors, district business staff, opportunity today to provide you an update on the campaign. And again, it was a pilot launch on May 13th. Some of you were at that event, I believe. And I think very soon we've had some success. We have a presentation that we provided, and I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to take a look at that. So rather than go through the presentation, we thought it would be an opportunity for us to have a conversation about where it's at, maybe some questions about the presentation that we provided to you. And then at the end, we've got a couple asks or some questions and we'd like to have a conversation around if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, you have a presentation in front of you. Questions?
Yeah, it was sent to my magic box here, but
Can
I
you,
can't open it.
can you lead, do you mind leading the conversation? And we
Sure.
can
Yeah.
that might be more.
Okay. Let me introduce, somebody who doesn't need introduction to this community. Laura McConnell is the digital strategist behind the campaign, and the person who's been sustaining it since May 13th. As I go through the presentation briefly, Laura's going to tell us a bit about what's actually happened and what the campaign has done in terms of reaching out beyond the Sunshine Coast to potential newcomers. And that was the whole objective of pilot, was to put an idea out there and see if it would work. So May 13th, like I said, we launched, and it was a program, a campaign that came together with people from the community contributing. And I was, quite frankly, I've been on Coast 7 years, and in a period of about 6 weeks, we had the community step up. Everyone from the archives to individual community members, newcomers, and contribute their ideas, their stories, their images. It's fantastic aerial images of Gibsons as an example to the campaign, all for free. And I was told that the community said, yeah, this is important, this is what we need to be doing. Get out there, get a message about Sunshine Coast out there, doing it in a way that connects with a specific target demographic, which is the millennials. So it's 30 to 45-year-olds who are looking at life in Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, and saying, you know what, something's not right today. And they're starting to look around and saying, where could I have more affordable housing and more? So this is how the campaign came together. This is the story that we try to tell. We do it in a different way. And so a group of us came together, and over a period of just less than 3 months, pulled together the campaign. What makes it different and what makes it this, I think, has contributed to its success. That's why I only say that because people have been telling us, people who use the campaign have been telling us this, that the campaign focuses on people, community, and connections. It's honest. Some people have said, some of the funders asked the question, it's pretty honest actually. It's a bit of an honest take on daily life. And yeah, that's kind of what we heard it needed to be. So it wasn't us telling people what it was that we expected them to know, rather it was us listening to them and understanding what they wanted to hear, what they wanted to learn, to consider a move, relocating to a place on the Sunshine Coast. So it's honest, it's simple, it's not everything, it's not a complete site. It's not a line site for everybody here who wants to know about the Sunshine Coast. There's other sites that do that, and one of them is right behind us here. Of course, and it's multimedia, lots of video, lots of social media content in it as well. And the sponsors, the funders, the backers who came together on January 10th and agreed to sponsor it with a sum of $25,000 had no editorial control on the project. And so I give them kudos for for having that risk, and in fact, putting up the risk capital, that's what it was. That's what it came up to. The timeline you've got in front of you, like I said, the idea was to put on a pilot, see if it works, and do this campaign and put a team together that Lori and I were part of, that operated in very much an agile, iterative way, where we could trial ideas very quickly and learn by doing. And we weren't sure what was going to happen on May 13th. And a few things happened, and I think Lori's going to talk about what had actually happened. Expectation-wise, we were pretty honest with what we expected to see come back from the campaign. Now we're at day 52. So 52 in the presentation, now 56 or something, 58 now.
Yeah.
So Lori's going to tell us a bit about, so what's actually happened with the campaigns.
So we were pretty successful on getting some media outreach off coast, which was really important to us because our target demographic is not coasters. It's the people who are considering moving here and contacts and friends of people who have already moved here. I was interviewed on Mountain FM. Richard did a pretty pivotal interview on this CBC morning show, which generated a lot of authentic and honest conversation on the CBC Facebook page, which was very interesting to manage. That's a really good indication of what modern marketing and engagement is. It's not a sort of an outgoing message where you control how people react with your community and brand. It's much more, people want to live here, we've got a great place, not everybody does. We just want to find the people who are fit for here and our values. So some of the surprises we had was that we had a lot of users. We had almost 5,000 users in just under 2 months. And they have looked at, they're almost 14,000 page views, and they're spending at least a couple of minutes on the site, which may not seem like a lot, but in internet stats terms, those are really good numbers, especially for something that went from 0, and we have not done any print. This is a digital-only campaign. And if you've looked at the package, it's interesting to note that the digital reach, a lot of the traffic is not from the Sunshine Coast, and it's from the exact areas we wanted to be attracting. Vancouver, Calgary, parts of the interior. And we have 42, I think today makes 43 conversations. So out of all the inquiries that have come in, there have been 43 legitimate conversations with people beyond the, I'm just looking up websites on the internet and now I really want to talk to someone. And we felt it was really important, even though the community could say the same thing on a website with advertising and sponsorships on it, if we took all of that away and just left people talking with people, for one thing, they really do feel like they're going to have an authentic conversation. We just put people together. We don't monitor the conversations. We're not getting blind carbon copies. There will be surveys at the end of the pilot stage to see how those conversations went, both from the Coastie ambassador's point of view and the inquirers. And most of them are reporting they're having 2 or 3 emails. Some of them are having telephone conversations. Some people are moving here in the fall and have already got networks of who they think of as friends to connect with in real life as soon as they arrive, which is one of the points raised in our surveys we conducted with recently relocated immigrants, is that they felt that people here already had well-established friend networks and that it was hard to figure out where things were, and that it's not a good place for people who are passive in how they network into their community. It can take longer than in other communities. So that's one of the major things we're doing with our work, is making sure that that whole barrier to experiencing a successful life in the Sunshine Coast is completely removed. People come and they have a community, they know people, they, you know, if they want to know churchgoers and Gibsons who run a small business, that's who I find for them to talk with. And it's been taking, we had no idea we were going to have so much success. I do an initial
contact with the person just to verify that they really are considering our community before I take up volunteers' time. And then out of all the network of people that I know and have the bank of Coastie ambassadors we've already built, which is around 27 or 28 now, that I get them talking with the person that is going to be most relevant to them. So both people on both sides of the conversation have a really rich experience. And the volunteers, nobody said, are there any perks? You know, is there going to be anything happening? It's just like, this is so cool, I want to be a part of it. So I think that's most for mine, and we're sort of learning what we had planned out of our digital strategy, what is working, and what is something we can just cut off as we move forward. You know, for example, Twitter is not a huge driver in our community. We're just too small, and we have too small a network of people actually using it in a day-to-day way. So that's not an area where we're focusing. There's automated ways to use it, and that's one of the really great things is the bank of people involved in this project and their skill sets makes for a really broad reach into the community, and we represent all the communities we're a part of, and that's been a huge part of the story. It's creative led, and it's led from the grassroots.
So that gives you kind of a take on where we're at today with the campaign. Laura mentioned this whole idea of talk to a coastie. And it's phrased in that way to be a very friendly, easy way for people to connect with somebody, a real person on the Sunshine Coast. It'll give them an honest take on what it means to live on the Sunshine Coast. And what's the reality of commuting by ferry 5 days a week? That's a reality. That's certainly newcomers would not want to understand that. Family life, schools, what's the economy like up here? What's it look like for entrepreneurs, potential business owners? So we've had people inquire and say, well, are there business opportunities out there? And I can run an open small business. That's the kind of story that we want to get people engaged in. So that seems to be working. So we've got this platform out there now. It's not just a website, it's a whole strategy, a whole campaign that's running. The word gets out there through the digital sphere. It's nothing in print, but we've had awesome print coverage from the local media, which is great. But it's reaching out because people are camping through their own networks, through social media. It's amazing. The inquiries we're getting are not just, hey, it sounds pretty cool, I'd love to come and spend the summer on the beach. Now people are saying, you know what, we've 2 business owners in Toronto, we're now looking to take to the next phase of our life, next phase of our career. Does it make sense for us? Could it make sense for us? What does it look like? What's your community live? That's the kind of conversation we're having. So the platform's out there. There's opportunities to use this platform. And that's really where we're coming here today to say is, look, we've got this platform, it's had some success, more than we expected, more than the funders expected. Now, this opportunity to use this platform, again, in a pilot way, to test out economic development ideas for the Sunshine Coast. This is not traditional economic development. It's what we see in the site. It's done things a little differently. However, there's some pretty solid things that we can gather from using this platform. We gather a lot of data about what are people engaged in, what message are they connecting to. We connect with people in individual places to understand what it is in terms of how they look at the coast as a potential demographic. Understand their perspective on the messages that we're putting out there. But the challenge, of course, is how do we do that? How do we use this platform over the next, between now and the end of August, to take up that opportunity? And the reality is going to come down to having some support on that to happen. We expected some minimal support, and the funders agreed to that. Lori's now putting in way more hours than we ever could available in the budget. So the question is, how do we sustain this buzz that's happening now? How do we keep the story current? Because as you know, in the digital space, you're only as good as your latest post. The story evolves, the story's changing all the time. How do we build that feedback into what the campaign's reaching out with? And there's opportunities to learn, like I said earlier, learn by doing. We've got a target demographic. We've got some qualified leads in the marketing sales speak. We've got people that we want to reach. We can learn from them. And people are willing to share their story about why they're connecting with this idea. Let's learn from that. Let's use this opportunity now to learn from that. Quite frankly, this is a pretty low cost, low risk way of doing it. We're not developing a groupie marketing program. We don't need to engage a whole strategy session to do this. We've got people already targeted and engaged with this idea. Let's use that opportunity. So, the ask. your feedback. Council, how does this campaign fit? Let's talk, on a regional basis, Lower Sunshine Coast with economic development goals. Does it fit? Give us your take.
Councilor Lumley? So the pilot worked, is the next phase that you guys would see, is a continuation of that, or do you have like a completely kind of different model waiting in the wings that you say, okay, or is it, you're just a continuation of the same platform? Is that what you're anticipating?
The platform was put together as a pilot and structured in a way that we can grow.
Yeah.
We can focus, it can move and change directions depending on where it's been successful. So what does that look like after the pilot phase? I don't know at this point. I really want to learn. We've got some ideas, but we want to carry through the end of the pilot. We want to really engage people who are connected with us, understand where your strategy should lead us. And
I like it better than the actual economic development that would come out of the government. But now you're in front of the government, so then you're gonna, someone's gonna suggest committees and representation. And there's gonna be tons of reports and, things are gonna take, like, you guys did this pretty quickly, right? We should just get rid of staff. Well, it's just.
No, I mean, Councilor Lumley, yes, absolutely. Few points I heard there is one is where does this thing go after the pilot? I think that's what the pilot needs to perform. It's not where we want it to go, it's where it needs to go in order to serve very specific goals that we've established for the campaign / bigger picture economic development on the Sunshine Coast. Second one, by involving government doesn't mean committees and reports. That's what I do with my part of my life is I work in enterprise world, so I'm used to that structure, and that's all very important. I think there are some ideas and some synergies that can work together. I think the approach that we've taken here perhaps gives us a way to move forward that dial. That perhaps is not move forward in Sunshine Coast for a while. That's all.
Councilor Sanjanko?
Well, if you remember, Richard, I was so excited I couldn't wait to share this initiative with our council at our strategic planning session because it is economic development. And I think the most important phase that happens next in my mind is the valuable information that you are gathering that can feed into other initiatives. So it's actually the conversation between community and local government. So as our regional economic development committee gets going, and also through the work of Community Futures and Sunshine Coast Tourism, that it's you guys are on the ground and you're getting that information, but how is that intelligent information getting threaded through back to the money that we're spending from the hotel tax we get or the regional government money? And so it's the coordination and really, so it's pulling all the, and Lori knows this, I mean, she's been in it long enough, pulling all of these pieces together is integrating it all is what I see being really, really important.
So we actually talked about that today before the meeting, and we want the pilot project to be able to run to its maximum potential. So we have goals that we set and objectives as a creative team, and the funders have goals. Once we have all that data, then we can do, the next step would be strategic planning. Same thing as we did before we started the pilot project. What worked, what didn't work, what's new, because the landscape is changing almost every day. And at that point, if we're integrated, like you were talking about, with the efforts of other organizations, with our local government, what role can we play to assist the local governments in gathering data or testing messaging or running mini projects within things to help move your goals for economic development so that we're always in concert with things? And this is only meant to be the ground level, but it's a very inexpensive tool for testing and getting a lot of really great data out of the system. So we have run full analytics and analysis and have goals and all of those things. So.
And then also going on that horse is the personal connections. It's the ability to tap into this target market that we're trying to reach. This is the challenge.
And as an example, of all the people I've asked to become involved as COSI ambassadors and respond to a specific inquiry from someone looking for information, only one person has said no because she didn't have time. And people are writing in to say, I'm so happy with how this is working. And so I suspect when we go to survey all the participants at the end of the pilot, we're going to have extremely high response rates with a lot of useful data.
Questions?
When's the pilot end? Did I miss that?
Well, we said 3 months. We said May 13th, running for 3 months, would give us a chance to now finding out that we're getting some traction. Big opportunities to test out some additional ideas, some of these mini projects that we're working on. And then learn, get the data, get some feedback from running those mini pilots. So we're thinking probably the end of August is a reasonable time to have that evaluation stage.
Sounds like we should have another conversation at the end of the pilot.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, the pilot is happening now, and for us to do that work, to get that feedback, to do those metrics, to do the analysis, to sustain the conversations that we're having, we expected 5 or 6 inquiries. And like we said, we've got 42 so far. Unfortunately, I mean, that just takes time, and Lori's time, she's an amazing community person, but we do need to fund her time now. So we need to come forward with an ask to help this pilot sustain, to take advantage of the opportunities. We've estimated there needs to be approximately $100 a month for 3 months to sustain and realize the identified opportunities in the presentation material. And we're, again, to connect with government and other stakeholders, community futures at the end of the pilot phase for the evaluation work. We're estimating it's probably up to about 10K in time required to do that evaluation work, conduct surveys, focus groups, do the data analysis, look at the media strategy, all those good things.
This is funds required over and above what the original funders were able to assist you with, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the funders came up with sustainment for 3 months, 5 hours per month for Lori to monitor the campaign, to see how it would run.
My first month was 17 hours.
So
you can't leave emails unanswered, and once you get in motion, the conversations, it sort of takes on a life of its own. And it's important to remember that when the funders originally came up with the pilot project money, the goal was to have a prototype ready for them, that then we would go to next stages of funding to actually do launch and rollout. But we actually managed to do the entire thing and launch within that budget. So, and comparatively, if we were running this through a digital agency working with an economic development office, it would have been in well over $100,000 at the level they bill at. So it's extremely cost effective.
Okay. Certainly, yeah, I really appreciate the initiative, that's for sure. I'm not sure what we can do at this point. We certainly don't do anything based on a delegation, other than take the information. And we'll have a discussion about what possibilities might be open for us today.
And we're sort of interested in what role the Gibsons Council could play in sort of bringing the conversation to the regional level with the other governments, and what kind of needs you might have, or data things. People are going to get an idea of what's happening anyways at the end of the pilot, and I'm probably going to do a mid-pilot newsletter out to just general organizations and governments to talk about where we're at.
Yeah, except the issue here to some extent is going to be the immediate funds that you need to keep going. Tonight, for example, we're on the council agenda, we're dealing with the endorsement of the regional economic development function, and certainly part of that, when you look at the charter that's being drafted for that, part of it is that function should augment activities such as what you're doing here, as opposed to kind of taking them over or anything like that. going to be a question of timing in terms of that actually getting rolling, because what's being set forth at this point will just be a steering committee to determine the structure of this organization. So it's not really going to be up and running probably till 2016 earliest. So I'm not quite sure where we'll go from here. But I really appreciate the initiative that you've taken this.
Just to clarify, so you need the 7,500 plus the 10K plus the 10K right now?
No, the 7,500 right now.
Okay, and then the 10K could come at the end of the pilot or?
Yeah, because the funders have put in an additional amount at the time of launch to cover maintenance.
Right.
And I am banking hours, which is difficult to do as a one-person business.
Yes.
So the idea of banking them through to the end of the project is a bit of a challenge. And we don't want to put any kind of restraint on the campaign because we need the data to inform the next stage. And we need people to move here.
Are you asking, is this just Gibson's Council?
No, we're hoping that Gibson's Council would take it to the regional district and the district of Sechelt and just say, hey, here's this thing that's happening. And I know the district of Sechelt has some funds from the closure of Sechelt Innovation. So I don't know where the money could come from. But it's been a great risk-free test for the community. The taxpayers haven't funded anything. We've proven the model, it's working.
Maybe we'll see if we can open a door for presentation and either through Sechelt Innovations or the Community Forest Fund is the other one that I'm actually thinking about. We'll see what I'll check with staff and see what possibilities exist, but I think you may have to actually be prepared to go and explain this project.
We love talking about it.
Great, thank you,
Okay,
Richard.
thank you.
Okay, just so everybody knows, this is a regular committee meeting. You shouldn't feel constrained to get out and stay for everything. We're quite welcome to, but it's not like a theater production where we feel offended. And if not, we'll move on to the staff report on the signed bylaw.
That's a good idea. Okay. Thank you.
The staff, we prepared a survey, we're working on the signed bylaw, Katie's here as well, the planning assistant. And today we have results from the survey for you, and you can have a quick look at that. The bylaw itself will come later this summer, hopefully, and we'll have a more in-depth discussion about what the setup would be and how it would work. But today, the results from the survey, we had the survey available for 4 weeks, and we got some input, not a whole lot. We did also promote the survey at the home show, and got some feedback there as well. Actually, it was good to hear that people that we were talking to either came to prefer or they said, well, signage in Gibsons looks pretty good. We're pretty happy with where it is right now. So that was good to hear. So even though we got about a dozen responses, well, we also got a lot of feedback that overall people are pretty happy with what signage looks like in Gibsons. What I quickly wanted to flip through with you is in the report, page 4 and up, we summarized the results by type of sign, and that's something that council today could give us feedback on. If you have particular ideas about a particular type of sign, or ideas that are available around it, just let us know. On page 4, there are 2 signs listed, freestanding signs and facial signs. Facial signs is a fancy word for wall signs, and those 2 signs are currently allowed. 1 freestanding sign is allowed per location, and facial signs are usually by business. Those 2 signs, those 2 types of signs are supported. Approval is the level of people that favor this through the survey. We don't have a big sample size, so it is just an indication. Strength means if people were kind of gravitating to an answer or not, the higher the percentage, the more people agree on one end of the scale. If the percentage is low, it means that opinions vary. You can also see with people kind of listed in that graph. That's something that our survey software provides. It's actually very handy to see in a visual way like this. So those 2 signs are around, they are regulated, people seem very comfortable with them. Having them, there was some, I think there was one suggestion for wall signs, for example, should be bigger, but then somebody else was saying they should be smaller. So our sense is overall, on those 2 categories, what we're doing so far has been working. The next page shows 2 different types, murals and channel lettering. Now murals are not used a lot for signage, but there are murals around, of course. Some of them are just pieces of art. People really like them, so maybe they should be used more as a sign. And it's something that is out, is not in the sign bylaw. We're thinking that maybe by making provisions for it, could be maybe going to be used more. Channel lettering is fairly modern inside. Each letter is its own shape. The light on the inside looks pretty fancy. This type of signage is also generally supported. It's a little bit less, but overall pretty good. It's related to back-end box signage, and that comes up, I think, on the next page, I hope. Maybe a little side note on that. The town over the past years has consistently tried to push or advise business owners away from the standard backlit box sign. And the backlit box sign is basically literally a box. You'll have a plate with the name and the logo, and then there's lights behind it, just shining the whole box, gives light. And the town has been discouraging that type of signage. There's some around, and that type will come up later. It's less favored by respondents. On the next page, page 6, you see banner and billboard signs, and the other one is activated signs. Banners, you're familiar with that. Not a very popular type of signs. According to our respondents, they don't really favor that type of sign. We used to sometimes see them used, especially for new business or for events. And in those cases, the bylaws kind of is silent on that. We've been allowing them for a couple of weeks usually. We usually give people the heads up, well, banners are not really allowed in the bylaw as far as we can see, so just make sure in a couple of weeks they come out. The with activated signs is something that you see as well. Those are, for example, different terms for it, but wind sock is another term for it. It's a ventilator, a big fan with a thing on it, sometimes it has arms. It's very effective in attracting attention. Not a lot of people like it, and that's the type of sign that's currently not regulated, so we haven't been able to deal with it at this point. There's 1 or 2 around. Next page, page 7, roof signs and backlit box signs. Okay, the backlit boxes, I was just talking about it. You can see that the approval is a little bit lower than in our design guidelines and commercial areas description. And for roof signs, it's something that is currently not allowed. Oh, sorry, only allowed in commercial 4 and 5, which is in the Gibsons-Committee area. Not a very popular sign either, and we can look at that. And I don't think there are a lot around actually at the moment, so maybe this is something from the past that we can move away from. That's thought that staff had. And finally, another page, sandwich boards and awning signs. Now, sandwich boards are pretty much supported by almost every respondent. And we have probably a dozen, maybe more around. And they're fairly modest in size. Sometimes they're on the road. People get insurance for that. Because they're on the road, there's a little bit of liability concern there. The other only signs are canopy type structures on a building. There's pretty good support for it, not a whole, not less than the center board. They're already allowed. There's some rules around it. Not much to say about that one. And then what is the last page? Yes, page 9, projecting sighted signage. Those are signs attached to walls or hanging out on a post and sticking out of the building. And they're only allowed in commercial zones. People don't mind those signs either. Good level of approval. So with that we have a bit of a reading on what people think is appropriate and effective signage and what types of signs are less favored. And we're going to use this to inform our bylaw draft. And I welcome any questions or comments from you. Thank you.
Okay, so is there some predominant complaint that you get from the business community when somebody comes along and wants to put up a sign and it's perhaps something you don't feel fits? Is there some discernible trend there?
There's one issue that came up with malls, because they have multiple businesses on one property, and the sign bylaws not quite set up for that, so we sometimes run into, maybe there should be another freestanding sign so there's more spaces for the other businesses at the other end of the mall, and we need a variance for that. Sometimes another concern that sometimes comes up is that businesses that are located upstairs or a little bit tucked away somewhere, they would like to have an extra sign somewhere. But the current bylaw seems to limit the number of signs to 3 and has certain limitations, and it's not always possible to have signs somewhere else unless you're lucky enough to be in a mall actually, because then you have the whole property labeled. And sometimes people feel that having to apply for a sign is a bit of a hassle and going through the process. It's a fairly short process, but it is paperwork that people are usually not waiting for when they start, especially when they're starting out.
Right.
It ties a bit into some thoughts that we had about the permitting process. Right now it's completely separate. You get a separate sign permit, but you also apply for a business license, for example. If your project is bigger, you might have a rezoning or development permit. And one of the things we're interested in is to maybe see if we can, for smaller signs perhaps, combine it with business license process, for example, and combine these things to make it more efficient that way.
Right. And this survey is pretty small, right? It's unfortunate, but based on the bylaw that you'd be looking at, working on, I'm going to guess, would probably prohibit wind-activated signs, for example.
Yeah, this is
that
what
like
I'm looking
the scenario, just based on that response. Probably the same thing, perhaps, for roof signs. And was there, did I see something about temporary, like new businesses when they first open up? Is that already covered in the sign bylaw?
Not yet, so that's one of the other topics we'd like to have some rules or guidelines around so that we have a bit more something to point at and say, this is what we expect from everybody.
Yeah.
Right now we try to treat everybody the same, and so we have kind of an enforcement policy, so to say, very informal, but it's something that would help to have outlined in the Bible.
Did you have something to say, Matt?
Yes, just to add to what Andrea said as well. The other type of complaint that we get is from business areas that have less visibility. And for example, down Gibsons Way as an example, so there's an attempt by a few businesses to try to get more visibility. In other words, kind of pushing the intersection. Likewise, I spoke to the industrial area. They have expressed interest in being more visible. being proactive in the town itself, taking the leadership in providing this space, particularly a lot for visibility and inside it is well coordinated and matching with our look and feel of the town. Sea shelters is sort of a program like that. That's a way we provide a bit more fair access to those areas. And then just from the business walks, you might recall, particularly, I